Okay, mine is kind of, I'll try and make it short and sweet, but I have written it, so I wasn't going to actually tell that story, but
Yeah, I wasn't going to
anyway,
tell
long
mine.
story short, got to Campbell Hot Springs, which was Leonard Orr's rebirthing center in upstate California. And I went to accompany my sister because she didn't want to go alone, and she had met Leonard and was kind of interested, and so she asked me to go as kind of her backup. And we had agreed, we'll try everything once and then we'll decide what we want to do for the week. And so in the morning, the first thing on the board was Arti. And I kind of thought that was a funny way to say breakfast because that's usually how you start the day. So I went to the room where they said that was happening. And there was this waving and fire and chanting and bells. And I was just like, oh God. And then I looked at the picture that they were waving it to, and it was Babaji in a young form. And I hate to say this because it's not true at all anymore. But when I saw it, I was like, Charles Manson, they're a cult. So I got kind of freaked out. But somebody handed me the Arti book, and I actually sang it like it was my native language. So I was like, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. So anyway, didn't want to know anything about that. So I said to my sister afterwards, okay, we'll never go to that again. And then there was an Italian woman named Hari Govindi that had been in Harakan with Babaji, and she was reading people's palms. And I was 27 at the time, so I was hoping to get married. So I wanted her to read my palm and tell me, oh, your husband's coming and you'll have children and everything else. And so she read from my sister, and my sister was going to be married. So I signed up. First of all, I was fascinated by her bald head because I always wanted to be bald, but I had it like really short, but not bald. Anyway, so she says, I can't read for you. Babaji is calling you right away. He wants you to come, and I can't tell you anything else. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even know Babaji. She said, he's calling you, you go. So I went away kind of pissed off. I was like, what kind of reading was that? And I meet this priest. His name was Bill Martin. If any of you encounter him again, I'd love to find him. Anyway, he's like, how's your day going? Because he was in my group. And I said, well, I don't know. This chick just told me I should go to Babaji. And he goes, oh, you have to go. And he was a priest. He wore the white collar and everything. He goes, you got to go. It's God. And I was like, you too? I was just thinking, okay. And he said, I'll tell you what you do. He had a really infected bad ear, and he heard of Babaji, and he said to Babaji, heal my ear by morning and I will come to you. And his ear was healed by the morning, which he'd been months with this thing. So he went, and he told me Babaji took him astral traveling to meet Jesus in a cave. So I was thinking, this guy's off his rocker. But anyway, he just said, all you have to do is give him a clear way to tell you if he really wants you. So that night, Leonard divided us into groups for fire purification, and we were all supposed in our groups to go out in the woods and build a fire and offer something that represented our ego to that fire. And I had this hot little t-shirt all cut up Indian style, and I loved it. And so I decided I would offer that to the fire because I really thought I looked good in it. So it was like ego. And so I put it in the fire. We got all our stuff in the fire, and none of us had a match to light our fire or a lighter. So it was like, okay, who's going back to the lodge? And we were doing that once, twice, thrice shoot thing. And I said, oh, wait a minute. I was trying to make a joke. I was being very, very sarcastic. And I said, wait, Bill, here, Babaji, if you want me to come to India, light that fire. And woof, the fire lit by itself. So I was just like, I had hyperventilated. They had to get me a bag. I mean, I was freaking out. And I just thought, my whole life went up in that fire. My whole understanding of life, what can happen, what's possible, Jesus, all of it. So the next morning I quit my job. I called my parents. I said, I'm going to India. And I stayed on for an extra week to learn puja because there was a really nice girl named Jeannie who was building a new temple. And so that week I helped her get the new temple all together, and I was there for inauguration of it. And I remember a big beetle came crawling on the carpet the morning that we were opening the new temple. And I made pranam to that bug, and I was like, oh, Babaji, you came. This is how out I was. This is, and I knew that bug was Babaji. So that was it. Anyway, that's how I got called, let's say. That's not how I got there, but that's how I got called. And I went. So.
Okay.
Thanks, Gayatri. That's great.
You're welcome.
That was
Talk
great.
about freaked me
That was
out.
great. Okay, so I wasn't going to talk about the path either. We kind of had our own agenda. And I'll just say I started at 2 years old doing spontaneous yoga and meditation at 6 o'clock every day. I would leave my family and go meditate and do yoga. And at 19, I was already initiated yogi by Swami Satchidananda. And later on, I became initiate to Kripalu in India, and that was 73. And all along, I was with the Tibetans and the yogis from the very beginning, because that was a very powerful time in America when all the saints and the gurus were getting together and coming from all over the place into America, flooding America with heavy duty spirit. And I was part of all of it. Yeah, I was a karma yogi right from the beginning, and I would usually cook. I was a macrobiotic chef at 19, and I was with the Japanese doing zazen and learning Chinese and Japanese medicine, along with holistic healing and yoga. So in the midst of all that, I was painting people's portraits. So somewhere in so I did get very close. I got to the dam site in 73. I saw Nim Karoli Baba right after he passed at his ashram, and Anandamoy Mai and Sai Baba, all sorts of people, before I spent 6 months with Kripalus doing Kundalini yoga 8 hours a day. It was very intense. And that's when I had my first vision of Babaji. He came, I was allowed to meditate for 24 hours in a closed temple with Kripalu said I could. Nobody had ever done it. And I always was an advocate for equal rights right from the time I was 5 years old. 5 years old, okay? In my school, everybody, girls all wore dresses. I said, I can't play if I'm in a dress. I'm gonna wear Oshkosh jeans, that's it. You could kick me out of school if you want, but I'm wearing pants. And even around Babaji, I always wore kurta and pants. I never wore sari, hardly ever. Anyway, kind of made my own way, always stated myself very clearly to people. And I think in life, if you state very clearly who you are, people make way. They just do. The path opens. So I was already attached to dreams, working in dreams and meditation and magic, always from the time I was 19, basically being trained. And so I was ready for that kind of Kripalu already set me up. So I'm going to say that very quickly, that what happened, I was spending all night long locked in the temple. And I chose the 3rd level in the basement to meditate opposite statue of Shiva. So I started my meditation and I said, all I want is to have a vision of Shiva. That's it. That's why I'm here. I'm going to just stay awake. I'm going to meditate all night long. I'm going to say Om Namah Shivaya. And somewhere in the middle of the night, I heard this big booming sound. My name was being called. And in my astral body, I turned around, and out of the wall came this professional procession of gods and goddesses. Everybody in full color, sound, booming drums, everything, music. And in the middle of that, there was Shiva, and it was Babaji. It was Babaji as Shiva. And he stopped opposite me, and he had the dreadlocks and the smoky blue flesh and skin of animal on him like deer. And he held a dunda, and he stopped the whole procession, front, back, opposite me. And he said, what boon do you desire? And my mind, I was frozen. I was like, oh, wow, it's God. Wow, thank you. And I said, you gave me it. You appeared. What else should I ask for? This is it. And he just smiled. It gave me that look, that Babaji always gave. And he said, okay, kind of like, cool, that's great. And then proceeded to go and disappear into the next wall. And along with all Ganesha and Hanuman, everybody just passed right in front of me. Three-dimensional, absolutely as clear as you could ever want it. And that was the first time I saw Babaji in this body, in this lifetime. And wow, I was like, wow, hook, line, and sinker. So anyway, I was already hook, line, and sinker. So I went back to San Francisco where I had a studio and I painted icons for the Russian Orthodox Church. And Motu came by one day. And she said, I've just been to India and I've just seen God, basically. I've just seen Babaji. And I would like you to do a picture of Shiva for me to take back to him and I'll pay you. And I said, great, okay, fine. And I always fasted and meditated before I did icons. And immediately I was in a swoon. And every time I tried to paint and look at the wood and paint, I would swoon. And it was Babaji. And he always appeared in Krishna blue neon silk as Krishna. And so anyway, I painted the picture. It was very hard to paint because all I kept seeing was him. Okay. And I finished it and she was going to India. And of course I knew I was going. That was all there was to it. And Motu took me the first time.
Wow.
And, or somehow or another, I got there. I can't remember if I went with Motu or if I just got there. But anyway, I'll just quickly say that I got there. In those days, it was a hike. It was hard to get to Haldwani. It was hard to get to the damn site. It was a hike through the high jungle. And by the time I got there, I got into Harakan through the high road. And I was washing my hands and my face. I was down at one of the troughs. And all of a sudden, there were 2 feet opposite me. I was looking at these 2 feet, and I knew it was Babaji. And I was dying. Oh my God. And I looked, and he was in neon blue silk, okay? He was dressed as Krishna, just as I had seen him all along, of course. So I was bowed down anyway, and I looked up, I saw him, and he was smiling like you can't believe, and I screamed at the top of my lungs and fainted. I fainted, that was it. And I came back, he was gone, and that night at Darshan, he gave me my first mala, and he said, it's been 108 years since I've seen you.
Wow.
Welcome to the top of the mountain. And he said, everybody you've been through has brought you to this moment. It was so beautiful. It was such a congratulations for doing the hard yarn, doing the hard yakka. Thank you. And that was the beginning. And so with what I want to say too is that in Babaji's world, it was 16 ring circus. Nobody knew what anybody else was up to or what the relationship was with Babaji. And all the time we were there, 6 months, 8 years or whatever, we never talked about this. We never shared. It was very, very rare. Even at night when we had chillum together or, we hung out and me and Tukaram would go into the villages till late at night watching the dancing and hearing the tigers and the tigers roar and seeing the panthers, seeing the fairy lights. I saw all of that. It was all part of the circus. It was all just accepted, totally accepted. And we didn't share. At night, we didn't tell stories about what had happened to you today with Babaji. No, nothing. And I always kept in the background. I never wanted to burden him, ever, ever, ever. I never wanted to ask him for anything. I never burdened him. I never wanted to be up front. So I was always in the back dancing, and he called me his dancer right away. That's who I was, the dancer. And I'll leave it at that. Let Gayatri take over now.
Okay, well, I want to correct. Oh, am I mute? No. Okay, so I'm going to correct something because Ramloti said I was there in the last years. And I was not. I was there the last 3.5 months.
Yeah,
I got there on Halloween 1983.
Wow.
And it was I wanted to meet him on Halloween. And before that, I was Studio 54, New York City, and teaching aerobics to movie stars. So I was not anything spiritual going on. So to be called out of that world and plucked over to India was just like this huge thing. But I understood when Samadhi happened, then I understood why he lit the fire, or why the fire lit, let's say. Because at the time the fire lit, I thought that Babaji over in India heard me and lit the fire long distance. But now I have a totally different understanding of that, because that's everywhere. So there was no long distance, it was direct. But I think it happened because he knew he was leaving. So I didn't have much time to get over there and get and be with him. So every day, I have to say, every single day was packed full of him in my face. I mean, and I went asking, I'm so grateful that that fire thing happened, because then there was no doubt in my mind. There was no doubt in my mind when I went there. So I didn't have to worry about that. Then I got seduced into passing by an Italian ashram. And so there I learned all the arti, how to wrap a sari, how to ask for chanda, and all the things I'd need to know. So that when I actually got to his feet on Halloween, I pretty much had the routine down. I didn't have to focus on that stuff. I could focus totally on him. And I have to say, to break it down, the first month, I was treated like shit. I mean, like shit. But I asked him when I went, whatever it takes, I'll go through whatever it takes. So he told me I couldn't bathe with everybody else because I was so dirty. I had to bathe down below the ashram. I had to even go to the bathroom down below the ashram. One day he just called me up in front of everybody and slapped me across the face. None of the girls in the dorm wanted to talk to me because they thought if they were my friend, then they'd be in trouble too. So I was kind of isolated. He was twerking my ear, calling me hopeless. I mean, it was just horrible the first month, but I knew he was God, and I was there, surrendered 108%. So it didn't matter, but he really embarrassed me, burned me up. He really just, month one. Month two, I have 3 older brothers. And so month 2, he was older brother number 4. He was noogieing me and doing all sorts of weird, fun stuff, just great stuff. And the last, he was my beloved. He was the last month before Samadhi, the month and a half. I mean, he was my beloved, and I could do no wrong. And my first name was, I got to tell the story. Okay, we're in Delhi. And we're out going on this tour. Oh, first of all, I asked him, somebody told me I have to ask if I can leave my luggage in Huracan. Well, I had so much luggage because I'd passed Italy and whatever. I had so much luggage. So I asked him if I could leave it while we go on tour. No, maybe I don't let you come back. So I had a shitload of luggage. So I had to, all of a sudden he decides the tour's leaving a day before we're supposed to leave. And so he's walking off and everybody's got their bags and they're going. I have so much shit to pack. I got to bring it all. I got to find a porter. Anyway, nightmare. We get to Delhi, and I go to the Hanuman temple to ask if I can leave my luggage with the pujari there because I can't go the whole tour carrying it. Anyway, why am I telling you this? Because getting to Delhi, I got him a shawl, a beautiful golden red shawl. And I gave it to him. And he sat there in this huge tent, hundreds of people, I don't know, maybe thousands. And he's drumming on my gift with his finger, like, whatever. And he won't open. So finally he goes, your name Gadi. Like he was saying, like, your name Goober, Gadi. And Vinless goes, she laughs. So I'm like, this can't be good. And I said, what does it mean? And she goes, it means Mrs. Ass. Mrs. Ass. Well, I had a big ass at the time, and I was very subconscious about it. So to name me Mrs. Ass was like, this was in the first month, right? Anyway, in the second or third month, I always loved Gayatri mantra. I was doing it all the time. He started to call me and have me recite it for him in the morning before the fire to Shastriji. Now that was like, talk about, being put on the spot. But finally, one day I went to him and I said, Baba, how do I pronounce my name? Is it Gadi or Godi or what? And he put his foot up and he kicked me down and he said, your name Gayatri Devi. Your name Gayatri Devi. So I went to Gora, who was like my guru, and I said, I went from a donkey to a Davy. I went from a, I was so happy. And she said, you will always be Gandhi to me. I was like, okay, whatever. But anyway, I was so thrilled to get out of the Mrs. Ass department. Although I started to see positive things about it. The ass did carry Mary when she was pregnant with Jesus. So I was trying to look for positive things. On the tour, we passed by a field of donkeys and I said to Baba, look, Mama, Papa. There was a field of donkeys. Oh, anyway, I just wanted to correct that. I didn't get there earlier. I wished I had, but I was too busy having fun in New York City. And I think I was I consider myself the last one through the door who actually really ended up staying and getting involved in, samajas and all that stuff. I think I was the last one he called.
Yeah.
Like that.
For sure. For sure. Okay, I'll take over now.
Thank you for clarification.
We're gonna do rapid fire here.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go zoom between them. Okay, lots of Shakti. Okay, so I just want to say that within the fact that nobody ever talked to each other about what Babaji did for them, really, until 37 years later. Hello. Okay, so the path of dreams and meditation, that was always what he did for me. He had me go, and while I was in Harakan and away from Harakan and after Harakan, before Samadhi, after Samadhi, he was training me in those alternative realities, So the other thing I did in the ashram was my karma yoga was to paint. So I painted big 6 foot, 8 foot pictures of the deities, and Babaji would always tell me what he wanted, where, over here, over there. And I was always painting, basically, and keeping to myself. But at night, we were always meditating. We hardly slept at all. We were hanging out after Arti for a little while, all of us, and then we were meditating. So right from the get-go, I would have a vision of something. So I'd already been initiated twice, for instance, as a yogini. And one day, I'm there and I can see it ahead of time. And I said, Babaji, do you want to initiate me? Should I be your yogi? And he always looked around like this, looked at the hemispheres, and then he said, yeah, okay. So right then and there, I stood, Babaji was on the left, I was in the middle, Babaji was facing one way, and Shastriji was right on the other side, facing the other way. Babaji was talking in this ear, Shastriji was talking in this ear. And he gave me a mantra. Babaji created a mantra, then Shastriji put it in this ear, said, that's your mantra between you and Babaji. Okay, fine. And then very little, like 7 sun worships every day, no big deal. Very few instructions. And then he didn't say anything about color. So I said, what color? And he said, black. Now, this is before the Italians, folks. Way before the Black Army was created. He said, always wear black. And he said, it'll protect you from evil. He said, you're going to be doing a lot of work with demons. And you need to be protected. So one thing you can protect yourself with is the color black, because they won't see you. You'll be invisible. So that's where I always had some kind of black. And usually it was the bottom half of me that had black on, like legs. And that was because when he gave me my name. So it was always dancer for a long time, dancer. And he had me dance a lot of Shakti energy in the back. I was always in the back where just he could see me. And so I was in meditation, and I was a big black snake. It's happened many times in Harakan that I transmorphed into a rather large black snake. And I was in a pool of water, beautiful blue water, and surrounded by a very lush garden. And I had a human face. And I looked out, I was swimming around, I felt fairly comfortable, kind of strange that I was in a snake body, but okay, fine. I looked out and there was Babaji as Krishna lying on the ground, all in neon blue, and he had his elbow up like this, and he's looking at me. And a big hippopotamus came. A hippopotamus represents the mother. Hippopotamus came through the woods, pranam to Babaji, and then came over and kissed me. And I said, oh, Ka Naga. So in Egypt, Ka is spirit of Naga, Ka Naga. Well, he wasn't calling me that, but I got it real clear. So I was painting outside his kutir. I was painting and he was dancing around in the inside. He was all in white with one of his turbans on, and he was dancing around. And he would look at me and go, nah, nah. And I went, oh, okay. So it's Naga. And he said, oh, yeah. He said, Nagin, Naga, Naga Baba. You were the Naga Babas, who were with the Naga Babas. I said, which loka? What loka are we talking? He said, Naga Loka. I said, okay, fine. So in a very short period of time, about 5 minutes, I got that I came from Naga Loka. I was also a Naga Baba, and the Naga of the energy of, that kind of freedom of movement, basically, and Kundalini. And then he kept saying, Amavasya, Amavasya. And I was like, Babaji, Amavasya. He said, you bring people back from the dead. You brought people back from the dead. In that loka, Amavasya was a special stone that brought people back from the dead. So then I said, okay. I said, should I he was also, he started sending me on these missions into the underworld. Like he would have me go down an elevator. This is in meditation, down an elevator, and at every level I would get off and get something for him. So one day he sent me down to get eagle. He went to old man, and the old man said, what are you here for? I said, Babaji sent me for feathers. And he said, okay. And he had an old eagle there. And the eagle gave me an eagle feather fan. So I brought it up to Babaji, and he said, yes, okay, good. And I started doing jara. And there weren't many people, I don't even remember anybody doing jara at that time, but there must have been. Anyway, he had me doing jara on the other level. And then one day out loud, I said, do you want me to do jara? And he said, yes. I said, good, okay. I said, so I should do snake jara? Am I supposed to do snake jara? He said, yes, Swamiji will show you everything. I said, okay. So, but it was like every time I saw it ahead of time, then I would ask Babaji, only then. And these conditions that he would set me under would make me very heavy, full of earth, so that I actually crawled to Babaji. I'm going to tell my last story. Crawled to Babaji. And I always had the shaved head then. And I was so heavy, I just laid there. And this is morning darshan, and he would be talking to everybody, and he had his feet on top of my head like this. And he was drawing out the negativity. He was drawing out the heaviness so that I could relate to anybody other than him. And one day Sheila got worried about all this stuff that I was seeing demons, I was going through hell, and I was giving blessings from Babaji, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and racing through different energies. And anyway, lots of stuff was happening at nighttime. And she went to Babaji during darshan, evening darshan. I was in the back again. And she said, Babaji, I'm really worried that the demons are taking over Naga, that they're fighting over her soul. And I'll never forget this. And it was one of those things that were seared into me forever and ever, lifetime after lifetime. Babaji sat up and he looked straight at me all the way in the back, and he did the hand blessing thing. He said, I know everything she's doing. I'm in charge of every place she goes. She has my blessing. She's under my protection. Don't worry about it. And that was to Sheila. Don't worry about it. And I was like, well, I wasn't worried. I knew he was sending me on this stuff, but that's a good thing to hear, isn't it? It's a really good thing to hear. It's like, thank you. I'm protected. I love it. I have your blessings. Thank you very much. Anyway, it was a beautiful thing. So the path of dreams and meditation. So when Babaji was leaving the body, before he left, I think in that last year, one of those wintertime speeches he used to give in the middle of the night, kind of, it was all dark out. Wintertime. And he said, and you all have heard this before. He said, there'll be a time when, you won't be able to see me, and you're going to be on telephones. And it's all going to be through dreams and meditation. So he was telling us already, that's where I'm going to come to you. And I've been very, very lucky that almost darshan, I've had so many darshan where I woke up afterwards and thought, oh my God, I was there. He was there. That was real. And then I would cry because I was back. And it was real, but I was back. I was back in my body and he was off somewhere else. But the darshans have been as real can be. And it's all through dreams and meditation. So if you haven't gotten connected that way yet, and I'm sure all of you are, of course, but that's one of his direct communications, is that way, through magic, through occult, through talking to us one-to-one. And it's very personal. And if you're Babaji doesn't want thousands of devotees. He never did. He wanted a handful of true devotees. And this is important to know. There are other gurus to go to if you're not ready. There are other teachers to go to learn, to climb up that yoga mountain. But, don't go with, no doubts at all. No doubts at all. Anyway, we're very, very lucky. We're handpicked. And he used to say, I'm taking you from one lifetime to another. I'm going to pick you up and bring you back. And aren't we the lucky ones? Holy mackerel. And we are all part of the same family. And I love you all. Okay, your turn, Gayatri.
Oh, very inspiring.
Yeah, we get so excited. I do want to add one thing to my story about that time in Delhi. Was the gift that I had got him, this red and gold gorgeous thing, shawl. Somebody came on the stage and took away all the gifts. And he didn't open it. And then he stopped the guy, he called him back, and from the whole pile pulls out my gift and sits it back on his lap and strums on it some more, just to drive me bonkers. Never opened it in front of me. So the next day, before we were leaving on the train to go to Jadar, I took all my luggage to the Hanuman temple, and there was a yagya, and he wore the shawl the entire yagya. And I didn't get to see it because I was dealing with my luggage. I get back to the train and everybody's like, oh, you should have seen Babaji this morning in your shawl. How beautiful. And I was like, get out of here. You gotta be kidding me. He wore it and they were like, oh, he wore it the whole Havan and then he gave it to somebody. And I was just like, damn it. And I still can't travel with too much luggage, I may add. I have not learned any lesson there. Everybody, I wish that I could say I did, but I did not. I still, packed too much. But anyway, on that trip, I think my most special moment was on that trip. And Pujora, you were there with your brother and Grit and I remember you got there, and we were in this chaotic thing for 10 days. We were in pure chaos. It wasn't like Harakan where there's just few people and Babaji. We're on tour around India and thousands of people are coming to see him. And it just got fruit flying, this and that, everything. Anyway, at some point in Ambaji, there were so many people, I just couldn't take it anymore. So I got up from the darshan in Ambaji. We were somewhere just outside in this place with beautiful little temples. I forget the name. I think it starts with a K. Anyway, he built a room there and said people should go and fast in there for 7 days and 7 nights. And I remember thinking, never gonna happen, never gonna do that. Since then, I've been involved in Native American stuff and I do Vision Quest and I have done that. But at the time I was like, no way. But I left the darshan because it was just so crowded. And I went to sit outside this tiny little mandir on the steps. And I'm just sitting there kind of holding myself and just going, I love you so much, but I just can't take all these people sometimes. And I'm sorry, and he walks out of the little temple and comes right and stops in front of me and offers me his foot. Now, there's no way he got from that big room full of people into this little mandir. So that to me was such a huge moment to realize that he could make different bodies. I mean, that was cool. I was like, okay, that's cool, you know? And he offered me his foot and I took it, and it was such an intimate, special moment. You know, it was like it was like he was saying, it's okay, you can't handle all the crowds. I'm still here for you. You know, it was just so beautiful. It was so, and of course, then I got with my Italian friends and it was like, how did he get away from you guys? And they were like, he never did. He was there the whole time. What are you talking about? So to have that second manifested body for me was just like cherry on the cake, if there needed to be one, you know. For sure. And what I wanted to tell people, like new people, was don't follow anybody, and don't follow, because you miss out. And I'll give you a very short, specific story. I was down at the riverbed with my friend Basanti and Bachu Singh's son, Christian, and we bathed the afternoon bath. And then we got all dressed up, you know, and I put a sari, I got him in a little kurta and whatever. And we were all ready to go. And Babaji comes from the Gufa side with a group behind him. And so he sees us standing by the river all dressed up, and he takes this big stone and he throws it right in front of us, and it drenches both of us. And it was just like, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and I wanted to just splash him back. I wanted to, you know, I wanted to water fight. And everybody behind him was looking at me like, don't you dare. They could see it on my face that I was going for it. And they were all like, ugh. So I didn't splash him. And you should have seen how disappointed he looked at me. And he walked away, and he gave me like, you know, too bad for you. And I missed out on such a fun opportunity to have a water fight with him, just because I looked at those other people and I thought, oh, they know better than me. They've been with him longer. You know, like I thought Gora was like God too, because she'd been there so long and knew Hindi and was so close. So I kind of worshiped her. Every night I prayed to be like her. And one morning I prayed, please let me be like Gora that night. Because every night I said my prayers right outside his room, long and whatever. The next morning I go to pranam to him, and he hits me and he says, she's your guru, and he points to Gora, and he makes me pranam to her. And then he takes our heads like two coconuts and knocks them together, and started this story of me having to clean her room, bring her food, bring her gifts, take care of her for the rest of her life, get her ice cream, whatever. And it was all because instead of praying to be like him, I prayed to be like her, without even knowing her or what she's like or what she thinks or anything, you know. So that was stupid. I mean, I did actually continue to be her care person and her guru, and I mean, she my guru and stuff like that. We played that game after he left his body because she needed a friend, basically. But I got the lesson immediately that he was telling me, oh, you want to be like her? Then she's your guru, you know. And that was perfect lesson for me, because she was tough. But really, and I listened to her all the time. She told me, don't ask him to, I was asking him if I could renew my visa and go to Delhi to get money. She said, no, don't ask him too many questions. He'll say no. Like, you know, so she said, just ask him if you can renew your visa, which I did. And that was a whole other story. But I paid the price because I didn't ask him to go to Delhi. And that was because I listened to Gora. So if you're, you know, new and whatever, just don't listen to any of us. Don't listen to any, you know, don't think we know better. Don't think, you know, whatever, just forget it. It's all in your heart. If you're called, it's between you and him. And
individual
way, because that's a huge part of the path, is learning that if you follow others and think they know more because they were there longer or they were, you know, cool, forget it. Just don't go there, because you get burned every time.
It's a one-to-one relationship.
It's a one-to-one. It's definitely, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, there's some things in the chats, guys.
Yeah, so Elaine was just saying that she loved to hear that advice of follow your heart, you know, your connection with Babaji. And earlier, Nalini was asking Nagin if you still do Jara. She was asking that, so you could speak to that after.
Yeah, nothing he's given me have I ever stopped doing. Yeah.
Do both of you do puja to Babaji?
Yeah,
Nope.
I do twice a day. I do fire ceremony on Mondays.
I'm a
Um,
total bogey. I'm a total failure in that department, but he accepts me anyway. I think that that's the good thing about him making Gora my guru, because she didn't go to Arti, she didn't do puja, she didn't do any of it. And so whenever anybody asks me, I'm like, no, my guru told me no, no chandan, no puja, nothing, just heart and love. But I sleep till
Meaning
about
I
9
do it in the
a.m.
morning. Yeah, so.
And I told him, if you want me to get in the river at 4 a.m. and take a bath again, you better come back, because I'm not doing it unless you do. I'm on strike.
oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm a bad
You're
devil.
not.
But I love to do puja when I'm with people who are doing it. Oh, I love it. I love it. You know, it's not like I don't like it. It's just I basically am lazy in that department.
And I'm
Incense and a bell. Simplicity.
I'm ritual oriented, totally
Yeah.
ritually oriented. So I spend my whole night, basically I'm up from about 2 o'clock till 4 or 5, and I do prayers and I do rituals. I do a lot of the yeah, anyway, stuff. That's how that's how I stay grounded. That's how I stay joyful, happy. That's how I get through everything, is kind of being away from everybody and just doing that relationship between me and God. Yeah, God got us. Yeah, I
Do you
like
get to sleep at all, Nagini?
not a lot. No,
No.
I do sleep, but not a lot. I get the first 4 or 5 hours I get, and then I'm up. So yeah, or a
Yeah,
good 3
I'm a
hours.
night
then
person
I'm
too, especially in Heracon. I was out till at least 2, 3 every morning.
We all were. We were trained to stay to. It wasn't over after Arti. It wasn't over after Arti. Actually, it's time to hang out with everybody and to see the magic.
The
See the magic
magic.
in the
The
night.
magic happens at night.
Yeah.
The lights in the top
Happened
of
The
Kailash,
fairy lights, the panther, the
everything.
tigers.
And plus everybody else is asleep. So you're not dealing with other people's
No.
mind stuff. You got
And
it's you and the
that's
dog.
everywhere. That's actually everywhere. You know, that's when the electricity stops and, you know, gets quiet on the planet. And that's your best time to connect.
Oh,
Because you're not
remember
busy.
when they
Nobody's,
put electricity in
you know,
Heracon?
it's the only time you have that's yours, because if you have a family, you know, all day long is the family. You can't say, no, I got to go do something else. I got to go meditate. No. That's why householders have 2 hours to meditate and non-householders have 8 hours. It's a big difference. So you're not supposed to go away from the world when you're a householder. You're supposed to be solidly in it.
Can you share more about the lights that you both of you saw? I have read it somewhere, probably in Radha Shyam's book, and have heard from a few devotees that they used to see the blue lights climbing up the mountain, climbing down the mountain in the night, and they were spiritual souls. Can you share more about that experience?
There's nothing to share, so much that it was just there. It was visual. It was coming in and out of Babaji's kutir in the nighttime. That's how I saw it. I would be hanging out over the ledge, watching what was happening. And
After Samadhi, I was down in the Kali Duni late at night, and I saw like a comet, not like a light, like a huge white ball with a big tail go right into the top of Kailash.
wow.
And that I'll never forget. I mean, you know, after Samadhi, there was lights going on all over the place. There was things happening, panthers disappearing in midair. I mean, there was so much magic going on. And it rained and it stormed and the riverbed rose, and they had just delivered, what was it, Pujari? They had delivered a whole shipment of something in the middle of the river, and the water rose and rose and rose, and it stopped right where the things were stored, so that the food didn't get ruined. But I mean, and then the dogs got in a fight like no tomorrow, and the Dooney and Prem Baba's skin on his leg got ripped off because he tried to break up the fight, and there was blood everywhere. I mean, I was like, I'm witnessing like, ancient times here. There's like blood and brimstone when the Lord leaves the planet, and the chaiwalas all made their tea 10 rupees more, 10 cents more. And because they thought, oh, he's gone, so let's make some more
right,
money.
exactly.
Crazy stuff was going on. I was like, guys, he's not gone. You better put the price back down. That's bad karma. The idea that he's gone is going to really mess you up, Yeah. But yeah, there's still magic when you go. There's still magic. That Kailash mountain is my beloved. That is my form of Shiva and God on the planet. If I have any manifestation of Shiva, it's that Kailash in Herakan. And the things I've seen in there. And Babaji said, and he would go out. I told you last week when I was telling Muna, that he flew out in as a ball of light and went to the top of Kailash for a meeting of the gods. And trust me, they meet up there. And, so it's just so holy.
So that's the lights. The lights are the devas.
Yeah.
Fairy lights.
And Nagini, you were the one who painted Mataji. You said you were painting a lot in Herakan. You were the one the main painting of Mata.
Yeah.
You were the one?
I don't know what's there now. But I understand from Raghavir that the paintings are still left something like 40 years later, or in the Kirtan Hall above where Babaji used to be. There, the beam is still painted with different devas. No, I'm not the original painter of Herakan Shwarima. That was a man who got a vision. And I think it was even before Babaji was in the body, or right when he first. Yeah, no, I didn't do that one. No, I'm not responsible for that one. But I did paint all over the walls for all those years. Yeah, big. But they're gone now. I have all the pictures if anybody wants any. Ram Loti's got them all. Ram Loti's got them all.
Beautiful Gayatri. My mother commissioned her to do a Gayatri for me, and it's so beautiful. I wish I could show you. It's in my house in Crestone on my altar, but it's really beautiful, like a tanka.
Yeah, it is a tanka. Yeah. I studied in Nepal too. So yeah, and Sandra Ray has a big one in her living room that she loves, and different people all over the planet commission stuff for a long time, basically. But anyway, yeah, it was fun. It was really good karma yoga. It was very independent of everybody else. All I had to do was paint. And there was an interesting story about that last year. Babaji asked me to design his samadhi, his samaj, his monument for him, because he knew he was going. And I did beautiful. I saw it all in my head first, and I did this huge mandala and stained glass. It was really neat, out of white marble and little domed place. And Radhisham was there when I did it, so he heard it all happen. But somehow or another, it got all changed after Babaji left. Different people got in control and did it their way. But he had actually commissioned it himself, what his samadhi was supposed to look like, what the place was supposed to look like. Anyway, go ahead, Gayatri.
Okay, I'm going to tell another, because I love it. I have to say, I don't get a lot of opportunity to talk about Babaji, and it's my favorite thing to talk about. But most of the people in my life, except when I'm in Crestone, of course, where I live, most of the people don't ask, don't want to know, and it's weird, especially my mom and stuff. But anyway, they kind of resent it because it changed my life, and I was Mundan for 13 years, and they were just like, okay, well, whoever he is, we want our daughter back. But anyway, when I was going to renew this visa, this is a fun story. So first of all, I had my period, so I couldn't ask him if I could renew my visa. But Radhasham asked for me. And he came back and said, oh no, Babaji said no, in an awful way. And I was like, what? what? I mean, because I was like not leaving, and I didn't want to go through all that horrible thing I'd seen other people who were sent away go through to stay. And anyway, so I waited 4 days. I fretted like no tomorrow. I made myself so scared and nervous. And then I see him when my period is finished, and I ask him, and he's like, of course you can renew your visa. So I realized, okay, 4 days of panic for nothing. That was a big lesson. I didn't have faith. If I had had faith, I wouldn't have panicked. Then I didn't ask him to go to Delhi. And so I went to renew my visa. Very funny story. Everybody told me the guy in Haldwani is really strict. You have to be real, whatever to get. And I had stool samples of 3 of my Italian friends. I go in the rickshaw to the passport office, that we get in an accident. The rickshaw falls over. In my purse, the stool samples break all over my passport. So I have to go into the office, give him, and I go to get the passport, and it's full of shit. So I had to go in the bathroom and try and wipe this shit off. Here I am, so nervous to meet this man. It was awful. Anyway, we left my passport and go to Delhi. Go to Delhi, get some money, help Radhasham with the Arti books, getting printed. Come back to Haldwani, and Babaji has been to Lucknow and I think Allahabad in January. And we meet up in Haldwani. So I'm so excited to see him. I bring him the money I got to donate and everything, and he's very happy to see me, and it's all wonderful. Then I go sit down, and all of a sudden he looks around, and he looks right at me, and he calls me up, and he goes, where have you been? And I said, well, I came to Haldwani to renew my visa, like you said I could. And have you been anywhere else? So I was like, oh shit, here we go. Yeah, I went to Delhi. That's how I got you this money. I was such an idiot. Anyway, so he goes, I don't remember you asking me permission to go to Delhi. And I said, I didn't, Babaji. And he goes, you go your country. You go your country. Oh my God, I just couldn't believe this was happening just because I listened to Gora. So I had always promised if he ever throws me out, which he did before also in Herakan, but I ask 3 times. Just have the courage to ask 3 times. Well, the first time again, very sweetly, no way, you're going home. Second time, no. Third time, he gets on the truck, in the car and goes to go back to Herakan. So I haven't been able to ask him. So the truck's leaving with all the vegetables and the ganas in the back. And so I got on the truck, and everybody said, don't get on the truck. What are you doing? He said, you can't come back. And I was like, no, I'm going. And I was scared. I was really scared. And, but inside the way I just felt he doesn't mean it. I just have to get clear that I belong. Once I know I belong and I can be here, he will mirror that because he's only a mirror. I kept testing it. So this was my biggest test because now he's thrown me out and I'm on the truck back to Herakan. So the whole way I was like, if I know I belong and I'm worthy, because that was one of my birth issues or whatever you call them, I was just like, I have to just stand in this truth. I get off the truck. My friends are making me nervous as hell because they're all telling me I shouldn't have done it. And I get off the truck and I see him in the distance, and he turns and he looks at me, and he does this march when he's mad or pretending to be mad, and he storms like this, and he starts walking towards me. And I am just like, okay, this is like moment of truth. And he stops and he grabs 2 women from Florida, older women, because I was only 27 then. And he brings them with him. And he just looks at them and he looks at me and he goes, she's your guru. And he gives me 2 disciples. And that was just, of course, they weren't my disciples, but that was the confirmation that he is a mirror. And if I'm clear, he's clear. So whenever he's angry, I'm not, it's something within me that he's mirroring, not the other way around, So that was a huge day for me in my journey with him. Huge to understand that there is no him there, liking, disliking, anything. It's just, it is a body of the totality of consciousness, and it's mirroring. So that was the sad part about samadhi, I have to say, because I thought if enough of us were sure he would come back, he would have mirrored that and come back. But everybody was.
I thought he was going to resurrect like Jesus in 3 days.
I massaged his feet for 3 days while they have his body on a block of ice, because I was like, you know, of course you can come back. You can materialize bodies right and left. Come on, man. But everybody had buried him. The minute it happened, it was over. And I have to say, I even went to Muniraj and I said, we shouldn't bury him on the 2nd day because Jesus rose on the 3rd. And he said, they've already buried him, Gayatri. So I didn't have any part in the burial. I went to work, and I had miracles happen. The whole samadhi was a total miracle.
Yeah.
No, it was one of the highest points of my life. But you know, he mirrored the collective. So, and it was time. I knew the day before samadhi that he was going. I didn't know how, but I knew. And that's another story I won't tell now, but I've written it and it's amazing, amazing. You know, just miracles. And I feel very blessed because I never had a doubt in my mind, even from before I went, because of that fire experience. I mean, it was huge, huge.
Did I tell?
Oh, 4 chats, 4 questions.
Oh,
thank you. There, gotta go. Bye. This follows what you said earlier. Just be yourself. What is your book? Oh, I haven't written a book. I've written just chapters. Again, I told you I'm a bogey and I'm lazy. I will. All I can squeeze out is a chapter here, a chapter there. But I do have a glossary and things, you know. Just this morning, I remember Joker was dancing in the temple, and he had one of those glasses with the eyebrows and the huge nose. You know, you put it on. And everybody was laughing. And I remember standing in the back and going, oh my God, he has such courage. I would never put that on. And Babaji called him and go put it on her face. And he came walking back to me, standing in the back, and put this thing on right away. I mean, all I had to do was think, I'll never put that on. Boom. You want to bet? Om Namah Shivaya. I started dancing with it on, but oh, it was awful.
He was mirroring you.
Yeah.
Can I tell another vision? Do we have time?
Ah,
Yes, please.
yes, go.
Do we have time, Ramloti?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, so this all happened in Herakan. A lot of the big visions happened in Herakan, or right after I would leave Herakan and be back in the unreal world. And anyway, so Babaji came, he was all in white, and he flew in, and I was in white, and we were on a bed, a big bed, all in white. And he turned his back and he said, put your hands on my spine. And I put my hands on his spine, and my hands went all the way through his spine. And then he said, okay. And then he took me by the hand and we went flying through the sky. And we went flying to Indra's castle, Indra's palace. And he said, look, you can spend as much time as you want here. And he said, Indra is going to be your guide. And I said, okay, fine. And, you know, I just said yes to anything. It was like, I wasn't even surprised by anything. It was just kind of like, oh, wow, we're flying and now we're going to be with the gods and goddesses. Great. So again, it was with the gods and goddesses. And this castle was just beautiful. And Indra came with his big bow and he took me by the hand and he walked me from room to room and showed me all around outside. Outside was archery contests and all the different gods doing archery. And one room was just full of costumes. One room was just full of perfumes, all incredible bottles of perfumes, you know, stacked up on the walls and everywhere. And then another room was a ballroom, literally, and they were all dancing, beautiful, in all beautiful costumes, and everybody was dancing and swirling and dancing and swirling. And then, anyway, I did seem to spend the entire day there. And It was just one thing, one vision after another. Hanuman, Ganesha, and everybody. It was so beautiful. And then it was time to leave, and Babaji came and got me and flew me back, and that was that one. Yep. Anyway, they're all very full colored. They're all very intense and beautiful. None of them are ever frightening. Another one, he set me down into the underworld, and another one was to a laboratory and a street, like in Harry Potter, but this is before Harry Potter. And there was an apothecary, and there were all sorts of jars in the apothecary, like it used to be when I was growing up. There would be these big jars. And I went in, and again, the old man said, okay, who sent you? And I said, Babaji sent me. I said, I'm not sure for what, but I'm here for something. And he gave me this huge smoky crystal, huge, like, like this, a smoky topaz. And it was, brown and smoky. And then a very big clear crystal. And then he put them in soft leather bags. And he said, this is no, and this is yes. I was like, okay, sure. And then I would go up in the elevator, taking these big things and give them to Babaji at the top. Anyway, there were a lot of those. So anyway, beautiful stuff, all gorgeous. He just takes me on journeys. It's all beautiful. And like Gayatri said, it's like and what I started out by saying is like, just stand within yourself. Always stand within yourself and be sure of yourself. Be solid with who you are. There's only one you. And that relationship with Babaji is strictly one-to-one. And you don't have to tell anybody about it. It's not necessary. I certainly didn't for very, very 37, 40 years, whatever. And it's not important to share unless it's like this, where it will help somebody else by sharing. Gayatri's got huge amounts of stories that may only be revealed when she writes the book. And I know for sure from talking to her that those stories are very, very, very important stories to be told. And that as soon as someone reads that story, they will feel good within themselves immediately. It will clear some trauma that somebody's had, or some, darkness. It'll clear. And I think this year, very, very special year, of course, on the planet for many, many reasons, whether it's Black Lives Matter or COVID or the Me program, where abuse is not okay, no matter what that abuse is, and that we as human beings have to elevate ourselves in our conduct to others. Very important, but it starts inside here. It starts with loving yourself, period. You have to love yourself. You have to forgive whatever you think about yourself. Forgive it. Let it go. Don't hold on to anything. Let everything go that comes through you. Don't hold on. It's not important. The more you hold on, the tighter you're going to get, and the more constricted you get. And you know what? The angels and the gods and goddesses ain't going to come to you if you're all tight. It just doesn't. Why should they? They want well-trained, open-hearted. Hanuman, open your heart. It's never enough room. Never, ever are we going to have enough room in our beingness to hold the beauty and the love for us to give and to receive.
I think part of it is from our in religion, they teach us that if we do this, this, and this, we're good and we'll go to heaven. And if we're like this, 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 we're going to go to hell. And it's kind of a threat to keep you behaving in a certain way that society, and Shiva is perfect for me because he takes everybody, and he takes the good and the bad, and he takes the weird and the misbehaviors and
characters. The hard nuts to crack.
Yeah. Everybody is always like, oh, you were so lucky. And it was like, I kind of felt that Babaji called, the ones that he called, especially the Westerners, each of us carried an aspect of ego. I don't mean ego feeling special, one aspect Mine was probably insecurity. I don't know. Anyway, and he told those aspects to him so that those aspects could transform. And in transforming, because we are all one, it levels the playing field for the whole collective. If we are able to overcome that aspect. So here, you know, I mean, yes, it will. You can't help but feel special to meet a being like that, but you're not special. I was thinking, we're not special. We're like the bottom of the barrel. He's calling. You know, I mean, sometimes I met so many wild people, drug dealers and heroin addicts. And I mean, you know, I was like, wow, this is quite a group. You know, so anyway, there was very few. I would have to say the Germans were the best. They were the best behaved.
Most controlled. Hold it. Most controlled. Not the best.
Well, anyway, their alarms went off at 3:30 and they rose and shined. You know, and I was like, turn that shit off. Anyway, oh, here's my beautiful son, the light of my life.
Hi, we see.
Son.
Hello.
This is Witsi. Also, Vishveshwar, name from Muniraj.
Uh-oh, your sound is off.
Yeah, you
He
muted.
wants to show me something important. I'm like, you have to wait a minute. Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay. I just wanted to say the German segue is great because next week we're going to have Neelam, whose sister was the founder of the German ashram in Rivera. Saraswati is her sister. She's going to be on with Sarah Dunbe and some of the other people involved in the German ashram now. Saraswati, the original founder, is now, doesn't seem like she can't really move from her bed and her house has no internet or anything. So we may not get to see Saraswati, but we'll get to see Neelam, and hopefully she'll be sharing stories. And if anybody else knows more about the German ashram, of people we might contact. Sarah Dunbe has contacted some, but she's sort of new to the scene. So it will be instead on Saturday next week, and it'll be 1 hour earlier to accommodate Neelam, who's also getting older and she doesn't want to stay up too late in Europe. So it'll be 1 hour earlier wherever you live on Saturday, and it'll be focusing on the different people from the German ashram. So please reach out to those people or give me their email and I'll reach out to them to see if, because I don't know the history of the German ashram. So like both Nagini and Gayatri were sharing, this time is so rich for us to get to know one another. And I thought it'd be nice to also get to know the ashram. So the week after, the Saturday, I think it's the 2nd of April, we're going to do the ashram here in Crestone. And Gayatri had a big part to play in that for many years. Pujari had it, David and Lorraine, Loknath and Kamalu. So many people go into making these special places. And so it's just going to be full of rich stories. And after that, I've asked Holland. And of course, Pujari will be a part of that because he was one of the founders of Holland. And it'll go on and on. So I don't know what Bob will tell me to do next, but it's just it's a rich opportunity to meet one another and tell stories.
Yeah, it's all good.
So can I tell a story?
Of course.
Yes, please.
Because guys, your story about Gordevi, and everybody not telling you to splash Babaji, you know, with their eyes, like, don't you dare. It reminded me so much of Don Quixote's story. And some of you may have heard it before, and Don Quixote has now passed away. And this is the reason I started all this kind of stuff years ago. We have a video that our wonderful man Ferd in Canada put together a lot of these satsangs I did years ago with Radhasham, Toby Clark, Don, people who have passed away. And their stories are Wonderful. So anyway, so Don's brand new. He's this very nice, well-built man. He was probably in his mid-30s or something at the time, I suppose. It was around 83, I think. And I get all the dates wrong, as Gayatri knows. But anyway, so, and we used to sit out at the garden when Babaji would come up for his bath, and he'd walk by, and sometimes he would stop. And he stopped in front of Don. It was Don's first day there. He didn't know anything. And Babaji looked at him, and Babaji howled. He went, "Ow!" And Don, instead of looking around, he said, "Well, when in Rome, do as the Romans do." So he went, "Ow!" And then Babaji came back and, "Ow!" And I love that story. Don was so Don that Babaji actually called him, didn't even give him he called him Mr. Johnson. "You, Mr. Johnson." So that story was so reminiscent of what you said, Gayatri.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, I remember that. Oh my gosh.
It would have been nice if we could have been light enough to play with him.
Yeah.
I was scared. I was so scared. I was scared every moment. Yeah.
Well, none of us wanted to be thrown out, so we didn't know what lines, whether you could cross it or not. I mean,
true enough. And the longer you spent with him didn't mean that you got any better at it. I remember that when he would be threatening, I would disappear for 3 days at a time and just wait it out, and if you could wait it out and get back, after 3 days or so, he wouldn't even remember that he was threatening. You ran away, you hid. Yeah.
But this idea, I really love that you brought out this idea that we relegate our connection with God to somebody else.
Yeah,
I'll call up so-and-so and find out what I should do because I don't trust that I'm hearing Baba say, or the divine or whatever. So it's a dance. And
it's always a dance.
It's
and to stand within yourself. Dance within yourself. Stand, be yourself. Be free. Be who you are. It's special. It's special. There's only one of you. Isn't it wonderful?
Gayatri, you said after Samadhi, you understood that Babaji did not fly from India to this Camel Hot Springs to light the fire. What did you learn?
It's in me. The God in me lit the fire. I mean, he is me. I mean, so let me just tell you that I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain it well, but he went one day. I was always asking him, to know the truth and to destroy me. So he went away on a trip to Lucknow. And while he was gone, I was just pondering all this stuff I was reading. I read autobiography of a yogi as I was sleeping underneath Babaji. And I read Irene Katie's book, or no, not Katie.
Renata Kadi.
Yeah, not her. She's my good friend. Irene Tweedy. Chasm of Fire, great book. Anyway, so, I'm pondering all this stuff. So then I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at Kailash and I'm like, okay, if we're, why, if we're all one, why do we see the same thing? Why does everybody, if I ask them to tell me what they see a mountain? And then all of a sudden it just popped in my mind, because there's only one eye. There's only one eye. So there may be different eyes on all of us, but the one eye is seeing out. So the one thing is behind the eye, and that's all one. And that's why we all agree there's a mountain there, because we're all one thing. And so I just had this kind of silly thought, and boom, I just popped into oneness, and that was it. I was if I can find that again in this lifetime, it's happened 3 times. I pop into what I call truth, simplicity, and love. And in that place, we are so one beyond any oneness we can ever imagine. So I thought, and I walked around the ashram and I just found everything hysterical. I mean, the fact that I locked the bathroom door, I was like, who am I locking out? It's all me. I don't have to lock the door anymore. I don't have to be, and I went to be, if I told a little fib, I laughed so hard thinking I needed to tell a fib. I was like, oh my God, I just, the idea, I'm only lying to myself. Things like that came very clear. It went away all 3 times. It went away when I went to bed. And if Pujari he's still on the call because he was there for one of them after the peyote ceremony in Spain, babe. He said to me, I was crying before we went to sleep. And he said, why are you crying? I said, because I'm afraid when I wake up, it's going to be gone again. And I was in oneness again. I had asked in that ceremony, my purpose was to find my dead friends. And instead of finding my dead friends, I found I am my friends. So, I mean, I don't know how I'm explaining it right, but consciousness is one.
That was good.
Consciousness is one.
That was
And
good.
from that moment on, Babaji wasn't there. He came back, but he wasn't there when I had my first awakening. And I can see why he wasn't. He wanted me to do it on my own. Otherwise, I would have thought that he did it to me, kind of like, what I was telling you about the fire. It's like we are all the divine. And it's only our identifying with our forms and our what do you call it? Microchips that we think otherwise. But it is very possible in this lifetime, and it's not a big thing, and it's not done by merit. You just, it's just the cessation of all, it's all the cessation of all overlaying stuff. And when that just stops for a moment, there can be this, and it's the tiniest movement also. It's the tiniest shift that changes absolutely everything. And that to me is freedom. So that's what my life is all about. Although I cannot make it come again, trust me, I've done over 300 peyote ceremonies and put myself in situations you cannot imagine, trying to get that back. And it's not a linear thing. It happens when there's a blankness actually about you. There's just a moment where something else can arise. It's an awakening and it's great because once you awaken, you realize, oh, I'm that no matter whether I know it or not. And we all are. So there's like a fail-safe built into the material plane that we are all the divine, whether we know it or not. And from whence we come, we shall return. And so, one of my dear friends, when she left Babaji, she was like, I'm going to miss you so much. And he said, which me? This me? This me? This me? It's all me. And it's true. It's absolutely true. So that's the highest for me in this lifetime when I, to reach that permanently. So I don't come out of it when I go to sleep.
Absolutely. The last time it happened to me, it lasted a whole month. I told you this story. A whole month I was in the light. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I was just glorious light. I was joyful. And then it happened. It was like coming down from the Bardos, and all of a sudden I could feel myself getting denser and denser. And it's just like leaving Harakan. I said that before, it's like leaving Harakan, and you get all of a sudden, you are changed. Every cell down to the DNA the memory of everything has been altered to perfection. You're in perfection. And then all of a sudden, you're yourself again. It's like, and you can scrape and I used to say that I need to get wild. I need to be undomesticated. And I would go into the desert or someplace and I would fast for 30 days. I've done this many times, fasting in order to initiate the enlightenment. And like Gayatri, how many trips do you have to take? How many fast, and then one day, and I haven't had it since. I've had some dreams, okay, fine. I've had deep meditations, fine. but I feel so, I just, I have to work at it now.
Well, for us, I think both Nagin and I, for us, the biggest way to say thank you to that which we call Babaji, which isn't separate from us, but the biggest way to say thank you for that coming and going is to realize that you are him. That's the biggest way to say thank you. That's all he wants from us.
I just wanted to stay too. I wanted to stay. I'm with you, Gayatri. It's like, when is it gonna just stick?
Yay. I know.
God got us, it sticks. I'm here in my family's house. They don't know who the hell I am. I thought about it last night at dinner. They look at me, they just see me as, one of them. And I'm not. I am and I'm not. I am and I'm not. Okay, fine. But you don't go out and, that's ego that wants like, can't you see I'm a goddess? Hello.
One of the best books I think that I ever read to describe that is by Nisargadatta Maharaj. It's called I Am That. For me, that's my Bible. I've read it 4 times. I can read it every day. I mean, because he was and is in that state. And when he wrote it, everything that out of his mouth was coming from that state.
Yeah, exactly.
And so awesome to read words from a being that is in it as he's speaking.
And he never came out of it? He never came down again? Never? Lucky duck.
Lucky duck. It's doable, man. It's doable.
I know it is. Of course it is. If you can taste it, if you can do it.
Of the ladder, guys. We're not even. Sometimes I think, yeah, dude, I was a hopeless lady. I am a hopeless lady. You nailed it. Oh, I had I did, because Sandra Ray, after I had that fire experience, I went to an LRT, which Sandra Ray was, that she was running a bunch of them. And I didn't do it with her. I did it with Fred and Diana. But my personal law was the angel in me is the devil putting on a good act. So everybody thinks I'm sweet and wonderful. I got you fooled. So when I went to Babaji, they didn't have somebody to play the angel in the Christmas pageant. So they came and they asked me to be the angel. So on Christmas night in the tent, I had a white sari. I had those sparklers, that you light, and they and I came out as the angel. And Babaji had been talking. He hadn't paid attention to the play at all. He was bored with us and what we were doing. But all of a sudden, when I came out with these sparklers as the angel, and I said, "Fear not, for behold, I bring you a savior." And whatever the thing went, and he cracked up. Oh my God. He was looking at me and he was guffawing. So I was like, oh, and I hadn't put it together before this that I was playing the angel, but all of a sudden when he was laughing, I thought, oh my God. And I went back behind the thing and I felt that my knees gave out. I just couldn't even stand. And it was like he said inside, actually, the devil in you is the angel putting on.
Angel is the angel.
And it just totally twisted it around and boy, changed my life big time because, yeah, the angel likes to be a devil once in a while, but the bottom line is it's divine. It's not, yeah. So it was very cool.
Well, the angel and the devil are divine.
Yeah, exactly. They're one. I asked him one time actually, because all the sorries and the this and the that and the periods, that was getting to me. And I went to him and I said, Babaji, sari, longoti, this, that, what's the difference? Why are men and women treated different? What's the difference? He said, no difference. No difference. And that again, from that place of oneness, you see there's absolutely no other, not even no difference. There's no other. So I was glad I got the courage.
Okay, he used to say, if you think there's space between you and another, you haven't gotten it.
Yeah.
Say that. There's no space. As soon as you see separation, you're out of it. Yeah. Oh well. Oh, well, never mind.
Do you guys have anything you want to ask Nagin or me? Because
Let's go to I'm going to go to gallery for a minute so we can have a little bit of time for questions.
Okay.
if anybody's.
Yes, Gayatri, I would like to ask you, you said that you have seen many things after Mahasamadhi of Babaji. What was it like?
It was a confirmation that he's always present, I guess is the crux of it, that he's not gone anywhere. I was hearing after Samadhi that Sandra Ray, he appeared on her desk as a little man or something. I was hearing stuff and I got really mad at him and I said, oh, you're all over the place appearing to everybody. What the heck? I mean, where's my darshan? And he literally said, you will see me when you are me.
Woo!
And that's why when I had that oneness experience, that was the actual realization. I mean, okay, I have to admit, I thought when he said that, I will see him when I am him, that I'll get realized and then he'll appear in front of me. It was completely different. I was realized and then I am him and he's everywhere. And absolutely, that's all I could see was him from that oneness state. So when he said, you will see me when you are me, it was a totally different, turned out to be a totally different meaning than I thought, but even 1,008 times better. Because, yeah. And so that was, it was just confirmation, I have to say, the dreams, they're all just confirmation, you know, you're not alone. You know, you are alone because you're all that exists, but that is always here with you. So, you know, I've had death follow me my whole life. Everybody dies, including Babaji. You know, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I just got here. What are you doing? Get up. You know? Get up. You know, but then I said to him, I realized because 2 days before was my birthday. And I asked if I could do the puja. And he said, yes, you can do the puja. And I was so excited because I'd watched everybody do it. And he said, you can also have a boon. Well, so I asked to know him beyond his form. That was my wish. And 2 days later, he's dead. So I felt a little responsible. I was like, holy shit, you know? And, but that night, I had prepared a thali this big of prasad and I did the deepas and everything for the puja. And I wore laser earrings that lit up and I had a black sari with laser threads in it. I mean, I was on fire on my birthday for him. Well, they come and they say, I'm sorry, Babaji's not coming. He's not feeling well. All right. First of all, Babaji not feeling well is a concept I cannot wrap my brain around. Okay, so that's number one. If he can make different bodies, if he didn't feel good in one, make another and come to darshan. Number two, we're not doing the puja. And I was like, what do you mean? I've prepared everything. What are we going to do? So I went to make pranam to the little Murti, which is my favorite Murti on the planet in the main temple. I went and I just was like devastated and I didn't know what to do. And I looked at the Murti and I got directly from him, I am here. I am granting you your boon. Do the puja. So I stopped everybody and I said, hey, wait, no, we have to do the puja. We have to do the puja. He's here. And that was the first time puja was done to Babaji's asana without him physically sitting there. And that was 2 days before Samadhi. And everybody felt him. I've got total goosebumps right there. Everybody felt him there. And it was the most beautiful thing in the world. It was so beautiful. And, you know, I mean, and then the next day he came in the morning, not early, at about 11 to the temple, so I could give him the things that I had bought him. And I'd been wanting a mala for 3.5 months, like no tomorrow. I mean, And he'd always pass them in front of me, like dangle them and then put them on somebody else. And, he was torturing me. Well, that day he called me and he gave me 2 malas. One, and then I went sat down. Then he called me again, another one. And I gave him the blanket. I wanted to give him all white because I read the Shiva Purans, it's My Lord White is Jasmine. So I wanted a white shawl. I could only find of the top quality, a blanket. So I gave him this white blanket. It had white hearts embroidered all around the edge. And I gave him the blanket. I picked every piece of lint. I gave him the blanket. I gave him the flower mala. I gave him the regular mala, everything. And he gave me a new name that day, which I've never used. But he called me again to give me another mala. And he said, "Your name Dakuli." And I said, "What does Dakuli mean?" And Gore told me, Daku is a blanket and it means one who covers me.
Oh,
To say, Babaji's died. If you want to, you can go see his body. I went down in the kutir and there was Babaji. He said something in my ear before I went in. And then I went in and he was lying under my blanket, naked under my blanket, one who covers me. And that was the day before. So he knew that would be covering him. Just unbelievable stuff. And when he gave me that new name and that thing, that's when I knew he was going. That's when I was certain. He fulfilled my wish of the mala. Now it's over. And I actually knew he was going, not me, because man, they'd have to have hired an elephant to get me out of there. I wasn't going anywhere. So I always say to him, you had to leave, not me, because I would never leave you. Even if you beat me again, he beat me, he slapped me, he did a lot of stuff. Yeah. But I wasn't going anywhere. So for him to tell me the coolie, and then the way I got the blanket back, because all of those things in general, he gave back to the person. He blessed them and then he gave them back. Well, okay, so I walked away. I had a new mala and I was in heaven in a way, but I was also knowing some. So then the day of Samadhi, when they moved his body into the ground, I was having no part of that. I went to clean his terrace where everybody had been sitting. There was a mess. And I went to clean and I opened the doors to go down the steps to his little area. And there was this block of ice on a table with this ray of sun coming through the tree, shining right on my blanket. And because it was on his skin, it froze to the ice. And so when they took his body, the blanket remained. And so I walked down and I just peeled it right off. It was like, you gave it back to me. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, you're here. And then I cleaned the terrace, and then I went down, underneath is the woman's room, and I was sitting outside on the steps, and I was like holding the blanket, and I was just thinking, oh, you gave me a mala and you gave me the blanket. And then just stupid little me, one little thought, yes, you gave me everything but the flower mala. And the tree above me was filled with like 1,000 flower malas. And a breeze came, just as I had the thought, a breeze came down the valley with his perfume, shook the tree, although I didn't look because I was looking down holding the blanket, and a flower mala dropped right on my neck. So then I was like, okay, Bas, Hogya, this is enough. I'm going to explode in ecstasy and everybody's going to think I'm totally weird because I'm supposed to be sad. And I'm sitting there and he gave me the flower mala and I was like, okay, this is beyond. I'm so sorry, but how does this happen? How does this happen? Every desire, boom, 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 even out of the box. So Samadhi, that's why I say Samadhi was really for me the most blessed ecstasy of my life, really. I was dancing for joy and ecstasy, and that wasn't really popular. But you got to go with your own knowing, man. And then if giving it to you and blowing you, perfumes and giving you flower malas, even without his hands, just with the wind. Oh my gosh,
Go
So,
with the grace.
Thank you. Thank you
About
for
grace.
sharing.
It's about grace. You go with the grace.
Yeah, full of grace. My favorite mantra is Om Purnamidam Purnamida 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 Sate, because that's all about the fullness. You are full, and from fullness comes fullness. That's the oneness state again. That mantra is directly speaking to that state of fullness and oneness. And nothing can take it away when that's your nothing can take it away. Nothing, not even death. So cool.
Ecstasy.
Yeah.
Ecstasy.
Yeah.
Grace. So I said this already, it just goes with Gayatri, that I also didn't have anything to do with the death. I was there before, I was there afterwards. I stayed for another 6 months. And Babaji said, go meditate. I mean, he said it in my head, go meditate. And I told this already when I first talked a few times, but I'll put it in this one. Anyway, I did. I went and meditate outside the kutir, and I saw him ascend. I saw him ascend as we think of Jesus, or the great paintings of Jesus, showing the light transcending, and huge column of light transcending with trees and everything on either side. Anyway, and I just sat there and I just said, right, he's not dead, he's ascended. And I did the same thing Gayatri did, told everybody, why aren't you waiting 3 days? Why aren't you waiting 3 days?
Yeah.
Give him 3 days. We gave Jesus 3 days.
I just think it was time because we were so attached to his form. We just
No,
couldn't-
I wasn't attached. I didn't care. I just was like, he is of that quality.
Yeah.
And so why shouldn't somebody do it again? So
I
to speak.
totally agree. I totally agree. But I do think that he was assisting us in taking away, because he just kept saying that, don't look here, I'm in here, but we were all like, they're like puppies.
That's true. That's
You
true.
know, just puppies. And so I think that I don't know if that materializes again in that way, because all material is that. But I mean in the way that of a conscious knowing eternity into form. That's whoever named that book, The Descent of Eternity into Form, that's the perfect description of what that was. It was the descent of eternity into time.
Right. And it was time to ascend. It was time to leave it.
Still on the call.
Yeah.
Well, come and sit. So yeah, that to me was the perfect description. And if that happens again, I hope I can do a little better. But I was young, very young, and like I said, I was Studio 54 and party. So
You're perfect.
now
Don't say you would do it. You wouldn't do it any differently. You do it perfectly. You did it then. You did it perfectly.
yeah, but I would like to not be so.
No,
You know.
hey. Forgive yourself and let it go. You did it perfectly. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, well, there was a
From that
time
moment on, I never looked at another picture. That was it.
in his teaching, he did say, all I need is one. So I have to say, I was thinking, I got to be the best devotee in the world. I worked like a dog, and I tried to do everything I was supposed to do to be that one. But look at the word again. All I need is one. So he was telling us, you're one. When you wake up to your oneness, you'll be the one. So in everything he let us know all the time. But we just didn't understand from duality. I want to be the one. I want to be the best devotee ever is. And by the way, Pooh, I think you get that prize. As God, I award you with the prize of the best devotee. Okay. Because your devotion is so beautiful. It touches all of our hearts. And I want you to sing publicly again soon. Get a camera and start doing it, man, because you just, when you sing and you communicate everything in your voice to all the vibration carries all the love. So I want you to get singing again publicly. From Russia with love.
Aha. Uh-huh.
It's coming slowly. I will soon connect with the Russian people here again. They've been inviting me here and there, so I will start singing with them. And maybe somebody pops up that we can do recordings again, because it's been a very quiet year. But I connect with your oneness experiences very much. You know, we shared these beautiful ceremonies with Aurelio. And the same, when I took a picture from old Hirakan Baba to the ceremony. And when I looked at his picture, I saw only myself. I saw my own picture. It was so amazing that there is not really a me. And Baba, in many ways, he showed me the same. There is not a Pujari. There is only one. If we can look from that place and drop the rest. I'm so excited by both your speakings. It's so fantastic that we have not been able to share this before. And thank you, Ramloti, again to make this all available. This will go a long time, maybe hundreds of years. People will be inspired by this kind of satsang. Beautiful, beautiful.
Grazie,
Exactly. If I
grazie,
don't get my
signor.
book right,
Grazie.
at least we've recorded it, part of it.
It is recorded and it'll all be on YouTube for
I'm gonna be on YouTube.
you'll all be famous. But yeah, it's just like I told Nagini, I said, she was wondering about timing and I said, it just goes on. If people need to go, they can go. But these are rare opportunities. So I really want to invite anybody that wants to ask a question or share at this time. This beautiful opportunity. And it's not the last. Gayatri will be with us. Sorry. And Nagini's here. It doesn't mean just because we're highlighting a couple of people, other people can't share or ask a question. Everybody's welcome at a satsang. So.
Thanks for the love, Pujari. Thank you.
Can I just share one thing? I really, what Gayatri said, the message she received of being one with him. When I had an experience with him, the next day I calmed down a little bit and I was so excited. I'm like, when will I see, when will I be able to have this experience again? When will I have this experience again? I was already getting like so impatient. And then the message came so clearly. I was looking into one of a woman's eyes and I was thinking how beautiful she is, and I really felt connected. And then the message just came: until you see me in everybody, you have not completely seen me.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those truths where you just know it's all there, we all one, and you just have to be able to see it. So that was like a parting gift from him, and it's everything. It's everything.
Beautiful, Katerina. Thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to share that last week, several of the people who are on this satsang now, two who are spotlighted, Biggie and Katerina and many people shared their stories. And I think it's so important, like you both pointed out, the stories, it's all our heart, whether it was standing right there or in our dreams, our experience. I was so touched last week also, so I'm just so grateful for all of my sisters and brothers that are here. It's like a dream come true. I guess that's what it would be.
Nice to be seen. It's nice to be heard. I never cared about it before, but this is.
Even though Nagini and I went on a tour in 1986. She had her jar of feathers, Motu had her book and her stories, Betsy played the harmonium, I had a slideshow, and together we went around the whole United States telling people about Babaji. And yet, Nagini, I haven't heard 1/1000th of the stories I've heard today. So I hope that you keep sharing. And of course, Gayatri too, I've heard a few more of hers, but not so many. And so everybody, share your stories. It really does inspire and help us remember that the divine is right in our hearts all the time, and we really are there and protected. I love that story about being always protected. I think Babaji spoke that to Pujari, particularly to my devotees. I give the gift of Abhayadan, by which you will always be protected. And in this time, it's a really important gift to remember.
It is. So what did you want from me? More stories from the tour?
No. I'm just saying that I've known you so long.
Oh, you've known me so long. Okay.
On the tour, you stood back and healed people, just like you said. You
Right.
never told the story. I heard some of Motu's stories. I probably told the story. I think a woman named, there's a few other people. Sambul was on the, So this old tour of 86. So we all go back together so long. And I want to tell just one story because I think Gayatri said that is, my mother saw the slideshow in probably 85 or 86. Babaji was saying, no, you go on tour and you tell everybody about me. And I was right there in the audience and sitting with Babaji, it was maybe 83 or so. And I thought, well, I could, probably 82. I thought maybe I could do slideshows because then nobody will see me and I can talk from behind. I'd done slideshows before. And so I didn't have any camera film left. So I went to Babaji and I said, Baba, because you couldn't buy anything in Haldwani in 1981 or 82, trust me. So I said, Baba, do you have any film that I could have? And he said, oh yes, Ramaloti. And he gave me 2 rolls of slide film, of all things. So I took slides and the country and everything. And I showed it to my mother, who was a great Catholic, and she was very touched. And so she went to her Catholic priest the next day and she said, if God has manifested in India, do you think I should go with my daughter? And the priest, of course, said, no, Bill, don't. That's probably not the truth. But it was a beautiful story, sort of like that story of people getting touched and not knowing what to do with it.
I was going to say, I don't know why it came into my head, but about the fact that Babaji would, when I did the jara, he would have me do the dogs. Do junkie. It's Prince Junkie in that body. Do junkie. And the way he would have us move rocks, he always told us that the consciousness of other things, and that when you move that rock from here to here, and its consciousness has been changed, but it's a rock. It can't move itself. And it was like a demonstration of us, if we get stuck, what it takes to move our stuckness. And we're still divine, of course, but somehow we're stuck in a way. And he would, have us, we all remember this, going into the Ganga at full force and moving that big rock from here to here. Or the fact that he would put the kumkum all over the certain rocks and the perfume and the silver paste. And he would say, such and such lives in that rock. And it was always, going through life, help whatever comes to you. That's kind of how I felt from that one. It's you help. When you're passing a bird with a broken wing, just pass the bird. Help the bird. If I see something has died, I go over, I say Om Namah Shivaya, and I pick it up. I don't care what state it's in, but it's my job to make sure that I pick it up and put it in the grass, for instance, for that its going is better in the grass than being run over by a friggin' car over and over. But, anything, all things deserve our awareness. And when we put our awareness, it moves others. It moves things. Anyway,
I
that's
have one last story I'm going to leave you with. All right, so I kind of felt like pranam and all that stuff was getting a little automatic. And I wasn't really giving the most sincere pranam that I could. So I'm waiting. I decide tonight in Darshan, I am going to make the most sincere, full, beautiful, awesome pranam that I can. And I'm in the line going in, I'm just trying to concentrate everything. And then, so I get to turn, and then there's this little steps to his asana. So I really, I concentrate, and I have a certain way of pranaming where I lie all the way down, and then I lift up my head and hands. And the ashram dog, Janaki, was sitting right at the end of the asana there. And when I lifted for my final beautiful part of my pranam, the dog let out the biggest fart in the world. And it was really Babaji saying, "Oh, that's your sincerest pranam." It was him. It was him. I knew it. I just couldn't stop laughing. I was like, okay, that was all right. We'll try again tomorrow. I mean, it was really funny. It was just because if you think about it, it was the false me or the ego trying to drum up the best pranam. And quite frankly, it's all a big fart from that place, So it was just perfect teaching for me that, okay, don't waste your time trying to polish the act. Don't waste your time trying to, make the act look like something, else. It's like, true simplicity and love. So it was really great. It was really great teaching.
I had one like that.
Okay, yes, go for it.
Okay, I had one like that. So painting, and I always was very tidy. I'm very tidy when I paint. I'm not a messy painter. I can control everything, I don't never even get any on me, it's all very nice. Anyway, I was painting, where was I? I was outside the kirtan hall painting something. Anyway, and Babaji was here, and the governor was coming. The governor, remember that? Was anybody there for the governor? Yeah. And we put a helicopter site in there.
Wear your best sari.
Yeah.
Look
So
good, clean.
Pujari, you were there.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal. We had to, clean up everything. It was a big deal. Anyway, so I was, and then he came and he was with Babaji, and right as they came around the corner, I spilled my paint. It was the same thing, like a big fart. It was like, oh, you're so tidy, are you? Well, you're so anyway, and I spilled my paint, and it was like, it's oil paint, Anyway, I did get cleaned up, believe me. I got cleaned up before Babaji managed to come around the corner, but he just looked at me and he smiled, he laughed. He thought it was the funniest thing when he saw me. And yet he did, he knew that my ego had, just been trounced, basically. But anyway, never mind. That was a small anecdote. Going with Gayatri and her fart anecdote. I hope that this has been fun for everybody. I was hoping, I told Gayatri, let's not be boring, okay? Let's not be boring. Let's have some fun.
This was really good. So thank you everyone for sharing, and it was beautiful.
Dhanyabad.
Dhanyabad.
Thank you. Love you. You're so great.
Thank you. This was amazing.
It's
Amazing.
been incredible.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Much
love you.
love.
Always love. Always love.
Love you. All.
Pujari, I wish I could see you again and give you a big friggin' hug.
Yeah.
I've never given you a hug. I've never touched you physically, but if I ever see you again, I'm going to give you a snake hug that you will never forget. Okay?
We are one. We are one. We are one.
Yes. May we all sentient beings realize their oneness.
You bet. You bet.
Amen.
Maybe rise in one glorious cloud of awareness. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah.
I'm gonna one more thing. I used to say to people, you know what instant enlightenment is? The asteroid's gonna hit.
So Adi Ashanti says death is instant enlightenment.
No, it's not necessarily. But if an asteroid hits, we all go up at once in light. All go up at once. Yay!
Mahadev.
All right, enough.
Be
Bye, guys.
happy.
Thank you so
Happy.
much.
You're
Look forward
very
to see you.
inspiring.
Thank you,
Oh,
thank you.
Near Nim Karoli Baba. was
Divine ladies.
Nim Karoli Baba
Bye,
was don't worry,
everyone.
be happy. Right? Don't
Yeah.
we agree? He was always the happy guy. Bliss, bliss, bliss. Not Babaji. No, he was hardcore, you know. He gave each person, it was just so amazing that, you know, he could get that dunda out, man. He could do that. He could be the disciplinarian if he had to be. And then he was the love bug, you know. It was beautiful. Okay, guys. Bye. Love you.
I
See you
love.
next Sunday.
Bye. Bye, Baba Ki Jai.
Saturday.
Jai, Jai,
Holy
Jai.
Baba.